Welcome to BrandsTalk, the podcast that explores the world of successful brands and the secrets behind their brilliance. I'm your host, Brigitte Bakowski, a company and personal brand identity strategist. Driven by my passion for brand excellence, we reveal the stories, strategies, and insights from thought leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and experts who have propelled their brands to new heights. With a focus on authenticity, market leadership, and the power of brand storytelling, our conversations are designed to inspire and empower you to elevate your brand's radiance and attract not only the recognition, but also the clients you truly deserve. We delve into corporate branding, entrepreneurial branding, personal branding, and leadership branding, offering valuable lessons for entrepreneurs and business professionals alike. Let's get started and dive into the world of brands. My guest today is Rayna Rokicki. Rayna is a podcast growth coach and podcast YouTube producer with over 3 years of experience in the podcasting space. She focuses on organic marketing strategies to help you grow your podcast like a business, but love it like a hobby. She's also the host of the podcast You Betcha She Did, which features the business tips to help you elevate your voice, grow your brand, and earn your worth. I warmly welcome Rayna Rokicki. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Hi, Brigitte. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's so good to have you, Rayna. Last week I was on your podcast talking about branding and brand identity, and today I have you on my show as a podcast growth coach and YouTube producer. And I would love to know from you how you got into that realm of podcasting and YouTubing in the first place.
Well, that is a great question. I have always been interested in communications, and but actually, I was a teacher for many years, middle school, high school. I taught around the world. I was in Nigeria for 6 years, Myanmar, and then my family, we came back, and during COVID, and my children were pretty young, and I was looking for a career switch, and so I actually first started off as a virtual assistant for this amazing productivity coach, and she had a podcast and a YouTube channel, and she took me under her wing. And I discovered not only that I really loved the work, but a lot of the stuff I did with her were actually things I had done with my students. I did a lot of audio projects, video projects, and I was like, you know what? This is the direction I want to go. I really want to focus on empowering women, elevating their voices, helping them out in the podcast and YouTube space. So I dove deep. I took a lot of technical classes on audio editing. I've done different podcast coaching certifications, and I love it. I've just been devouring it ever since. You know, sometimes you get obsessed with something, and I feel like podcasting is my slight obsession, but it's a good one to have.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
And when it comes to obsession, right? I mean, you advocate for loving podcasting like a hobby while treating it as a business. I love that sentence because it says already so much. I want to dig deeper into that. So if someone wants to use a podcast to develop their business, to use another fascinating communication channel to the audience to create and build a brand awareness, what are the best ways to do this? And to keep this loving podcasting like a hobby in mind while treating it as a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for those people who don't have a podcast yet, but you have a business, I would highly recommend having a podcast because you are already creating content for your business on social media with websites. You know, maybe you have a newsletter. A podcast is just another way to do that. But also, I personally feel, and from research, that podcasting is the best way to really get inside the head of your ideal listener. So when you have a podcast and you churn out content weekly, people make you a habit. They make you part of your daily life. Every week you're showing up, on their daily walk or when they're running errands, and you're giving them sound advice. You're forming a relationship because they are listening to your voice. They're getting to know you, your personality. And what's really magical, I think, about podcasting is that you don't need a huge, gigantic audience to have your business grow with podcasting. A lot of people, when they start out, they have dreams of being in the top 10 podcasts on Apple or being a Joe Rogan, the top names. And while that's admirable, that's not going to happen for most of us, but that doesn't mean you can't grow a business with it. Even with 500 to 1,000 true listeners, you can start monetizing your podcast. You can start doing offers. Like if you are a coach of any type, you can start showing them what it's like to work with you. You can do live coaching. You can establish yourself as an expert so that when you have offers that you want to throw out there, people already like you. They already find your content valuable. They like your style and they are ready to work with you. And you don't get a lot of other mediums out there where you have this connection to your audience. And it's for that reason that I feel like podcasting is a win-win for people who have a business, especially in service based, like I said, or coaching, something in that realm. It's really ideal to be in the podcasting space.
Yeah, I think what you are saying is absolutely true because if it's become a habit, in the morning you download the episode and you go for your walk or for your run or whatever that is, it's just something that becomes a very, very much part of your life. And so they kind of creep into your heart and mind already. And then
Yep.
it's top of mind. And that's how we connect with our customers, our clients, our audiences. I think that is a wonderful tool. So when it comes now to growing our audience, because you emphasize organic marketing strategies, something that is
Yeah.
not paid in a sense, could you share some effective techniques that help us entrepreneurs who have already started? And now we see, okay, this is something we like, and we want to also for us as a business, keep that as one of our communications touch points. How can we grow our podcast? And what are some organic marketing strategies that we can use and leverage that are easy to implement?
Yeah, excellent. Let's dive into organic marketing. There's a couple different things you can do. I'm going to give you 2 tips today. So one thing you want to understand about podcasting is unlike Google or website SEO, blog SEO, Instagram, it's different. There's no SEO like searchability. There's no like algorithm on Apple, iTunes, everything like that. So you have to think about podcasts differently. And so, for example, with the title of your show, a lot of people, when they want a podcast, they want to be creative and clever and have these really cute podcast titles. But honestly, that's not what you want when you're a podcaster. You want to have a very straightforward title, and you really want to think about your ideal listener. Like, for example, what would that listener be searching for in iTunes that you're going to come up? Um, so, for example, if you had a show about, health and wellness coaching, you want to make sure that you have something about health and wellness in that title. And for a lot of people, maybe they don't want to rebrand. They like their clever title, but what you can do is add a title extension. So you have your title, you do a colon, those 2 dots, and then you add something to the effect of tips for people who want to get more energy, lose weight, and look their best, right? So you think about like, what would people be searching for? What can I put in? So you could do something to that. Tips for A, B, and C, or strategies to build your business, grow your audience, grow your brand. Like what would be those keywords? And by adding that title extension, automatically you're chalking your title full of keywords that people are searching for. And again, if you're kind of like, well, I don't know what they're searching for, just take a stab at it right now. What do you think your ideal clients are looking for? You can always adjust the title. And as you interact with people and you say, hey, how'd you find my podcast? They'll tell you. They're like, oh, I was searching for, a podcast about fitness goals and yours came up. And you're like, that's great because I had fitness goals in my title extension. So that's one easy thing you can do. Add a title extension, put keywords in that people are searching for. Another thing you want to think about is your cover art. So again, think about a lot of people when they're looking at podcasts, they're looking on their phone, which is tiny. So with your cover art, you want to make sure that the font is big and it's very clear to read.
Mhm.
As far as colors, I would either do a light background with dark words or a dark background with light words. You can use one color that really resonates with your brand and have it pop. Like maybe a key word in your title, you're going to use that color, make it pop out. Often, again, a lot of people have like these covers where like maybe their picture is really big, but you can't see the words. They're kind of tiny, or it's like a cursive font. It's hard to read on a phone. You really want to go for readability. You want to go for contrast, and have a fun color that pops out, so that when they're looking, in that genre that you're in, they can find you right away. So those are like key things with organic marketability, because you got to win that click when they're searching through for that topic. How are you going to show up to them? How are you going to pop out and make them want to follow you and listen in?
Mhm. Wow, these are already two great pieces of advice. And I also have to rethink on the podcast title of our show today. But I think it's pretty much going into that direction. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, when it comes to growing something, because we talk about growing the business, using podcasting. So how can we leverage podcasting also as a powerful tool to grow our personal brand, especially when we are a solopreneur and the face of our
Yeah.
company, or, our business brand, or basically simultaneously? What are strategies? How do you, from a podcast coach perspective, differentiate the two different brands that are interrelated, as we
Mhm.
know? How do you go about that? I would love to pick your brain.
Yeah. I mean, especially for a solopreneur or an entrepreneur who has a show, you're going to be front and center as the host. I mean, people are going to be latching on to you, your personality. So I would not be afraid to let it shine. Sometimes people don't want to show their values. They want to be more generic, but no one is looking for that. People are looking for authenticity. They want to know your personality. And honestly, that's the best way to find your ideal listener. Because you're either going to attract people or you're going to repel people. And it's okay to repel people because they're not your ideal person, right?
Hmm.
But the more you show up as you, with your personality, as your personal brand, the things that you value, the more you're going to connect with the people that you want to connect with. One other tip I think solopreneurs who have a podcast should think about, um, often when people start, if you're a solopreneur, you want to establish yourself as an expert in your field. And the best way to do that is something called the 2/3 rule. So if you're a podcaster, you should have 2/3 of your episodes be just you, just either solo episodes or maybe episodes where you're coaching someone, you're showing your skills, you're demonstrating what you can do. Because again, you want people to buy from your business. So you have to get them to know what you do, to love what you do. So 2/3 should be solo or coaching. 1/3 of your episodes can be interviews, where you're interviewing other experts, or maybe you're doing a panel discussion, things like that.
Hmm.
But a lot of entrepreneurs, mistake many make when they're doing a podcast is they do just interviews. And it's great to bring that content through other people, but it's not positioning you as an expert, and it's not getting people to really get to know you. And ideally, that's what you want to do, right? If you're using a podcast to grow your business. So think about that 2/3 rule. That's something I know personally I didn't do for the first year and a half of my own podcast. And I was like, oh no, I need to really do solo episodes. And then once I did, I was like, oh wow, I'm getting lots of great feedback. The numbers are really high on those solos, which just goes to show that people want to connect with you as a host.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and what I also do is I share my guesting when I'm invited as a guest on LinkedIn
Yeah.
Live, or as a guest in on any other show. I also repurpose that and use it as an episode on my podcast, and that also comes really, really well. So there are
Yeah, that's a
different
super smart
strategies,
way.
but the 2/3 rule
Mhm.
is a good advice. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I want to dive a little bit deeper into, personal and professional, and because, it's all about authenticity. We want to show ourselves, and not only in the professional realm, but maybe there's also some privacy we want to showcase and share. So how can entrepreneurs then strike a balance between the private life, showing vulnerability and telling their story, and professionalism, and also passion. How does that
Yes.
go together?
I mean, it does go together, but there's a fine line there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Some of us are more private, more introverted, which is great. There's no, you know, right or wrong, but you don't want to overshare. You do want to connect with people. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to pick and choose which parts of your story do you want people to connect with. And again, it really comes down to your ideal audience. Like if you are trying to connect with working moms, then maybe you want to share stories about what it's like as a working mom, like the struggle of getting the kids ready for school, right? And how your weekend went. But you don't have to share everything, and nor should you. No,
Yeah.
no one needs to know everything. Um, but you have to think about, again, it all comes back to your ideal audience and what you want to accomplish. So, what would be most impactful? And you kind of go from your personal experience. Who do you listen to? What do you like that they're sharing? What are you connecting with? That's always a good guideline. Generally, what you connect with is going to be what your ideal audience wants to connect with. You never want to show up inauthentic though. You want to be the person that you are. So don't develop an alter personality, you know, for your podcast or for any social media. Be who you are, and
Mm-hmm.
those people will find you. The people who need to find you.
Yeah, I love that advice because very often as a solopreneur, we are setting up a business. Our higher purpose is something that we have accomplished where we had difficulties in our lives and we made it our purpose and it has become a business. So we resonate with people that are like-minded. They see themselves in us. And so they might also feel the same way we do. So we stick to our identity. We are our true selves, and then we roll and run with it. And when we feel like, okay, this is something I can share and I feel it in my heart, then I just do it. And then we shouldn't
Yeah.
regret it. So once we do it, it's out there and then it was okay. I think a lot of people then share and then are ruminating, oh my God, I should never have shared that and something like that. I think once it's out there, it's also absolutely okay. It had to be out there. Oh,
Yes.
all right. Now, from podcasting, um, let's move away from the typical way of podcasting, the audio podcasting, and go into another channel, a very strong channel, YouTube. It's all about videos, but now also podcasts have become very prominent on YouTube because we can amplify our reach. So, with your experience in podcasting and YouTube production, why should podcasters, entrepreneurs, businesses in general consider also taking on YouTube as a platform?
Yeah. YouTube, it's it's not going away. It's a really popular thing. In fact, it's the world's second biggest search engine besides Google. So I would highly recommend YouTube, excuse
Mhm.
me. But there's different ways to approach it depending on your comfort level and also the amount of time you have to spend. Um, if you feel comfortable on camera, definitely go ahead and publish video episodes on YouTube. YouTube is diving into podcasting. They want a piece of this, which is great. It just keeps showing how podcasting grows and grows. So if you feel comfortable, I would publish your episodes. If you're like, I'm not super comfortable on YouTube, but I still want to dive into that realm, what you can do is publish your audio episodes on YouTube. For anybody who's into podcasting, you take your RSS feed, you could connect it right to YouTube. It'll just show your cover art and have your episode as an audio episode. Kind of a middle ground between the two that a lot of my clients do, and myself as well, is we publish the audio episode to YouTube, right, with the cover art, but then we take a clip from the interview, it's usually the same clip that we would use as a reel on Instagram or LinkedIn, and you publish it as a YouTube short. So YouTube shorts, like reels, just need to be under a minute. Usually 30 seconds is even a better timeline.
Oh,
Get something fascinating that's going to get people to want to listen in. You do need to know a little bit about YouTube SEO. So some tools that are helpful. vidIQ, it's VID. IQ is a great tool to use. It'll tell you about the top SEO search words. and really come up with an engaging title for your short. But this is a great way to introduce a topic to the YouTube audience and get them to want to tune into your podcast. This has worked for a lot of podcasters. And I
Okay.
ultimately there's two separate audiences. There's people who love to listen to audio podcasts and only listen to audio. And then there's a whole world of people who love YouTube and love videos. So when you go the YouTube route, you're just widening your reach. Like you're saying, you're giving yourself so much a bigger access point for people to find your podcast. So I would go that route.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
would definitely encourage everyone to do it. It's fairly easy and automatic too now that YouTube lets you hook up your RSS feed.
Okay, okay, okay. So YouTube Shorts have the advantage that people watch that first, and if you catch their interest, then watch the whole episode. And
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
goes then back either on YouTube, but also on your podcast platform. Let's via
Yes.
Apple Podcasts or Spotify on their go.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Yeah. And
interesting.
what like if you do take your reel and then you put it on YouTube, at the end of that 30-second teaser, make a little graphic in Canva
Yeah,
or whatever graphic design program and say, to hear more, to listen more, check out this podcast. Da 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 da. So put your cover art, so it's easy for them to find the name. And that tells people like, oh, cool, this is from a podcast. I should check it out. So
yeah.
make sure you do that. Otherwise, I'll just think it's a random clip on YouTube.
Sure, but is this something that I can also repurpose on Instagram or Facebook just as okay, so this all
100%.
okay,
Yeah,
wonderful. So we can do many things at once
exactly.
with
Make
one
one reel,
with
put it
one reel.
everywhere.
Awesome. Um, Reina, what are some common pitfalls? I want to go into that so we can avoid them and that you have observed in podcasting journeys over your time that your clients fall into or have
Yeah.
or are exposed to. How can they be avoided or overcome?
Yeah, I think part of it is, well, gosh, there's so many things. So I'll try to just choose a few. Part of it is definitely episode length. So podcasting, like everything, keeps changing, and shorter episodes do better than longer episodes. So the ideal episode length right now in 2024 is about 22 minutes or
Oh,
less. Um,
really?
I know. Yeah, it is.
God.
Um, I know people have very short attention spans,
Yeah.
and there's an interesting statistic that says, this is in America, but the average car commute in America is 22 minutes. So people listen in their cars, right? And then when they're done, they never finish that episode. So if if your episodes are longer, they can be, but make sure you have the best information um in that first 20-ish minutes. Okay. So think
Got
about
it.
that.
Got it. Got it. Got
Yep.
it. Because sometimes, I listen to podcasts, they're 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I run for
Right.
an
Yeah.
hour, then the next day I pick up where I stopped the day
Yeah.
before and then continue with that. All
Right.
right.
And
So,
you do that, but not the majority, I would say. So
yeah.
just be mindful. And one thing you can do too, like if you do have a longer episode, maybe you have an amazing interview, cut it into two,
Mhm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
do this is part one, this is part two. And that's less work for you, right? That's great. You already have two episodes done. So
absolutely.
that's another thing to think about.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Okay, what are other
I think also,
pitfalls?
yeah, just not studying your analytics. So I would say every quarter, a month, you could do it as well, but every quarter, look at your past, if you do a weekly podcast, your past 12, 14 episodes, look at what were the most popular ones. Try to pinpoint what it was. Was this a really engaging guest? Was this title really fantastic with SEO? Did you have keywords in there? Um, and pay attention to what is resonating with your audience and recreate that. Um, Another thing that I see that a lot of podcasters don't do, is nurture their audience. And by that, I mean, invite them to be part of the show. So, one of my favorite podcasters, and this is the guy who actually certified me as a podcast growth coach, is Adam Shively. He runs Podcasting Business School. And he uses SpeakPipe. And what people do, his audience, they reach out and say, hi, this is, Rayna. I love his show. My favorite episode is episode number 25. You should check it out. Here's why I love it. And he'll play this at the beginning of the episode or at the end, depends on where he wants to put it. But it's so neat because you hear from fans, they're recommending other episodes. And then as a listener, you're like, oh, they like that episode. Maybe I should listen to that one. People love to be recognized. And like, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you could get a panel of people either in your industry or maybe clients you've had, talk about a topic. And then at the end of that episode, let them share a little bit about their business. And it's like a free pitch for them, but it's really neat because you're getting them as part of the show. And all of a sudden, you take a fan from just being a regular fan to a super fan. And when they're a super fan, they're going to tell your friends, their friends about you. They're going to be really excited about your episode. And that's the best marketing you can have is that personal one-to-one recommendation. So the more you can do things like that audience nurturing, it's been really powerful for a number of clients. So I
Wow.
recommend.
Thank you. Wow, this is great advice too. My God, an episode full of advice within 25 minutes so far. Okay, so you mentioned now already some metrics like SEO on YouTube. Are there any other metrics besides downloads or views that we should check quarterly
Definitely.
because just downloads or something is one measure, a silver metric. It
Yeah.
doesn't tell us much. What else can we
Yeah.
look?
Yeah. For downloads, well, you should look at audience engagement quarterly. Check your downloads monthly. You want to look at the download numbers per episode in 30 days. So in 30 days, how many downloads did this episode take? Just kind of be mindful of that. And hopefully, the ideal is hopefully over time you're seeing gradual growth. Sometimes you get lucky and you get exponential. But for most of us, as long as we're seeing gradual growth, that's really good. If you start to see dips, just pay attention to that. There are seasonal disruptors in podcasting where you will see dips and it's natural. So for example, the summertime, your numbers generally are going to go down because people are on vacation. They're out of their daily routine. Remember, you're a habit in their life, right? And when that habit changes, you're going to see the numbers dip. So don't be too concerned in summer if things dip. But in fall, again, when people are back to their routines, kids were in school, and so on, you should see those gradual numbers September through December, and then also January through May. December is a time too where numbers are going to get a little funky because there's a lot of holidays and things going on. An analytic I think a lot of people should look at is specifically in iTunes. I don't know a lot of other platforms that do this, but in iTunes, if you go into analytics, you can look at the percentage of the episode that was listened to. So it's the percentage of that it was completed. And this is really good too, because you can take a look, like if it says most of this, like 56% of the episode on average was listened to, you can look at how long your episode is, right? And then be like, okay, what happened 56% through that episode?
Yeah.
What did people stop listening or why did they listen more? This episode, it was 86% listened to in its entirety. That's awesome. Why is that? So just kind of pay attention to which episodes have a longer listening, longer engagement versus shorter. And that kind of tells you again what's resonating with your audience.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Rayna. Now, what about your podcast? Tell us a little bit, tell the audience so they can tune in right after listening to our episode here.
Excellent. So I actually have two podcasts. I'm starting a new one in summer, but I'll start with my current one. So my current podcast is called You Betcha She Did. So it's kind of a Midwest US funny term, like, did she do that? You betcha she did. And it's all about really amazing women leaders, coaches, entrepreneurs. And it's meant to give business advice to women to help you elevate your voice, grow your brand, and earn your worth. So there's definitely interviews, but there's also solo episodes of me just giving advice from things I've learned as a woman entrepreneur. So check it out. It's really, really fun show, really fun women coming on there. And then this summer, I am starting a new podcast called Podcast Growth Club. And again, it's all about helping you grow your podcast and grow your business in a way that you don't get burned out. It's more like a hobby. It's more fun. And as a podcast growth coach, I'm sharing all my strategies to help you with both organic marketing, effort-based marketing, and I will do some live coaching. It's really fun. I'm really excited about it. So if you have a podcast, definitely tune in. You'll get valuable tidbits to help you keep growing and having fun along the way.
Okay, when are you dropping your first episode? I need to listen.
Yeah. Right now I have it slated for the second week in July, so I have to look at that. I think it's like Tuesday, July 9th. So I'm
Okay,
doing the recording right now and getting it all set up.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be a successful podcast. All right, Rayna, before we finish it up, I would like to do a short rapid fire terms word rap, kind of. Are you ready?
I am ready. I think I am. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. Podcasting,
Growth.
confidence,
Women.
women empowerment,
Women change makers.
okay, that's good. Entrepreneurship,
10x.
YouTube,
Search engine.
okay, and brands.
Shining light.
Oh, beautiful. All right, Rayna, where can listeners find you and get in touch with you apart from your podcast?
Great. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn at Rayna Rokicki. So look for me there. I love LinkedIn. I'm on there a lot. I'm also on Instagram as Podcast Growth Coach. So Podcast Growth Coach, you can find me there. And yeah, and find me in my podcast, You Betcha She Did, and Podcast Growth Club.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Rayna. It was fun. So much advice. I mean, an episode packed full with advice from you about podcasting and how to get podcasts from mic to screen to amplify. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brigitte. It's been great being here.
Thank you. If you loved the episode, don't forget to hit follow on your favorite app. Share it with your network and drop me a quick rating or review. Your support means the world to me and brings more exciting brand stories to you. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue to explore the fascinating world of brands. Until then, keep shining.